Hello everyone and welcome to this morning's webinar. My name's Jackie and this morning we're looking at part 2 of a two-part series, which is actually step 3 of the VAT return. And it's all around completing and submitting your VAT return. So as I say, it is part 2 of a two-part series. So if you did miss the first session, don't worry, there is a recording available for you that you'll be able to access, and I can show you that a little bit later on. First of all, we'll just do some housekeeping. So I'm just going to pop the slides on there, just make sure they're sharing. There we go. So first of all, you have been placed on mute. That does not mean that you aren't able to ask any questions. Okay, you can use the questions panel to submit your questions to us throughout the session. So please do so using the icon that looks like a speech bubble with the question mark in the middle, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as possible there. There is also a copy of the slides for today, so if you want to take a copy of those, please do so throughout the webinar using the icon that looks like a document with the folded corner. Okay, as I mentioned, after today's session there will be an email. I'll have a link in there to the recordings page and also to register for upcoming webinars as well. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to look at the VAT transfer journals. We're also going to look at the bank receipt or payment, depending on whether it's money owed to or from HMRC or ROS. And then we're going to look at VAT submission. So with that in mind, I am going to pop a quick poll out first of all, because I do want to find out which return you are submitting. So if you're doing a UK return, a Republic of Ireland return, or if you find yourself in this situation where you're actually doing both, okay, so it might be that you're running a return for both the UK and Republic of Ireland. So I am going to launch that now, so if you can, just pop something into the poll for me, just so I can familiarise myself with our customers and how you're submitting. That would be great. It also impacts how we'll run today's session. So if we don't have anyone doing a Republic of Ireland return, we'll not be highlighting the differences. So please do get your votes there. There is a slight delay on this, so I do have to do some small talk while you submit your options across, but they're coming through thick and fast there now. Perfect. Now I'll close the poll. Don't worry if you didn't get your answers across. We have got the results there, so we are going to cover both. We are going to do today on a standard UK return, so my demonstrations will be a UK return. However, I will, where possible, highlight the differences for Republic of Ireland. Okay, there's very few differences, but I will highlight those for you with you being on today. Okay, so we're going to just pop back to the slides first of all. Just pop back onto that. Okay, so when we talk about step 3, before I go any further, it's probably a good idea to show you where I'm up to in terms of step 3. So I'm just going to pop into the VAT return first of all, and I do have 3 data sets today, so I'll be making sure I try and get the right one each time. When we're talking about step 3, we're going into a VAT return, and we're inside the actual VAT return itself. And it's this window here that we're going to be dealing with. Okay, so just first of all, wanted to let you know exactly what we mean by step 3. So it's where you've done the preparation, you've clicked on reconcile the return, and you're now in this window where you get to complete the VAT return. So it's these options down the right hand side here that we're going to be taking a look at today. So I'll pop back to the slides because I just, like I say, wanted to make you familiar with where we're actually referring to. Now, just before I do go any further, if you do find after today's session that you do perhaps want some more bespoke training, which is very bespoke to your needs and your business needs, then we do offer one-to-one training. So just bear that in mind. If you're feeling today is maybe a little bit too much, you'd like something more catered to your needs, your scheme, your location, then obviously we do have that training available. So there is an email address in the handout. If you want to reach out to us, we can give you a personalised quote on receiving some one-to-one training. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is VAT transfer journals. Okay, and what these VAT transfer journals are is a tidy up routine that you do after your VAT return to transfer the value of your sales and purchase tax control accounts for that period, so just for that period, out of those control accounts where you can't make a payment from onto your VAT liability. So once you've done this transfer, your VAT liability should show exactly what you owe to HMRC or ROS, or you're owed from them if you find yourself in a situation where you're owed a refund. So as I mentioned there, you can't make a payment directly to a sales or purchase tax control account, okay, because they're control accounts. So you do need to move the balance across. Now, if you don't do these journals, you can still make the payment to the VAT liability, but what you will find over time is that you start to build up some really large balances on these nominal codes. Now, lots of people don't recognize that there's an issue there, because when you're reporting on these three codes, they tend to be grouped together. So when you run your balance sheet, these three nominal codes, which are 2,200, 2,201, 2,202, they're all by default grouped together under the VAT liability sort of subgroup. So actually, they do report the correct figure. But what people do tend to find is when they're running the trial balance, they start to see really large balances building up on these nominal codes, which maybe stand out from the others. So what I do just want to do is just demonstrate for you a data set before and after transfers so that you can see the difference between the two. So I'm just going to bring across a data set, and this is where I need to make sure I get the right ones for you. So that's a complete one. Okay. So just to give you an idea of what this might look like, we've got a data set here. It's done 4 VAT returns over the period of 1 year. Okay, so it's not a huge data set by any stretch of the imagination. But what you can see from these VAT returns is in the VAT transfer column, 4 of them have not been transferred. Okay, so 4 of them have not gone through that process. When we go into nominal codes and have a look at those nominal codes for VAT, just going to highlight them there. You see we've got some balances starting to build up. Now they're not huge at the moment, so bear in mind my data set's really small and we've only been doing this for a year. But say for example you're heavily processing and you've been doing this for 10 years or so, you might start to see really large balances on here. And this was something that we picked up a lot during Making Tax Digital. So we did do a lot of one-to-ones, and I was responsible for delivering a lot of those. And what we found was lots of people weren't doing these journals. Now, like I say, it's not the end of the world if you haven't done them. It's just that it will start to look like these have got huge balances on them. So if we compare that to a data set which is identical, other than we've done the journals, okay, so we've done the journals, that's the only difference between these two data sets. So you can see they're the same 4 returns, but we've got all of them transferred. If we look at those nominal codes, now that they've been transferred, those balances are far more manageable. Okay, now it's unlikely your purchase or your sales tax control account is going to go back to 0, okay, because they're cumulative nominal codes, but they're going to look far more sort of healthy to look at. They're not going to be really stand out. So as you can see there, between those two data sets, the only difference being the transfers, we've got quite a big difference between the nominal code balances. So just wanted to show that, just to put that into perspective there for you. Okay, so what do these VAT transfer journals do? Okay, now this is where it is slightly different in the UK and in Ireland. So in the UK, for sales tax, it will move the total VAT on sales from box 1, and the purchase tax, which is box 4, total VAT on purchases. That's minus any VAT adjustments. So if you've done a VAT adjustment, it won't include those in the VAT transfer journal because that's already taken care of through the adjustment. In the Republic of Ireland, if you're transferring sales tax, that's the amount on the first box of the VAT return, which is called the VAT charge on supply of goods and services. And for purchase tax, it depends on whether it's a payment or a reclaim. Okay, so if it's a reclaim, it's going to be T4 plus the VAT charged on supply of goods and services. And if payments due, it's T2 minus the VAT due on intra-EU acquisitions and postponed VAT. So that's the second box on the VAT return. So how do we do these journals? Okay, so we have a choice and there isn't a right or wrong way. Okay, there's probably an easier way, but if you are set in your ways and you've been doing something a certain way, I'm certainly not going to say you must change how you're processing, because if you're used to doing something, then you can continue to do so. So the first one is to do a manual journal. Okay, now if you're anything like me, when I first started out, journals were my nemesis. I was not great at getting my debits and credits the right way around. So doing it manually is absolutely fine. However, it does open up room for human error, okay, in various places. So I'm going to pop back into a data set now. I'm just going to make sure I'm on my demonstration one here. So to do this, what we need to do first of all is go into the VAT return. And we just need to take a note of the values showing here, and notice my sales tax control account, sorry, my sales tax amount is different to my box one figure, and that's because we had a manual adjustment on there. Okay, so there's been a manual adjustment of £100, which we're not going to include in the VAT transfer journal. So I've taken note of these two values here, and I need to post a journal to reflect this. Now what I can do is I can go into nominal codes and I can enter a journal entry, okay, to move these balances across. Now immediately we need to pop in the right date. So that's a first place you could potentially go wrong. So this would need to be the last day of the financial year. So I'm just going to change that. And then we need to enter in the nominal codes we're transferring from. And quickly pop these values in. I'm going to leave the extra reference and details all free, but you can enter further details into here. And quickly see if I can get these across for you. So I'm moving this one to 2202. So initially we've got VAT on sales as a credit, so we're going to debit the value, and then we're going to transfer it onto the VAT liability, which is what my first pairing is. And then we've got 2201. So originally it was a debit, so we're now going to sorry, originally it was a credit, so we're going to debit that onto this one here. And again, we need to make sure that that balances, so I would need to pop the other side of that onto the VAT liability again. So immediately you should see from that there's areas you can go wrong with. Okay, getting the debit and credit in the right place, the right way around, making sure you've got the right codes, the right date, transposition of numbers, very easy for you to potentially pop in the numbers the wrong way around. Okay, so it is quite easy to make a mistake using that route. However, if you're used to it, that's absolutely fine. You can continue to do so. There's nothing to say you can't do that. If you're using Professional, you do also have the option to memorize. So if you did have a journal that you wanted to save for next time, so that next time you can pull it up and just change the values, then we do have the option to memorize. And this allows me to save this journal for next time. So I'm just going to call this VAT transfer Jan. I'm just going to pop in description of Jan and save that. Okay, and what that means is I'm not going to save this journal now because I'm going to show you a different route of doing that. But what I can do is each month or quarter is come into recall, find my VAT transfer journal that I've just created. I can find it there. There we go. And it pulls through what we basically memorized at the time. And what we could do then is next time we can just change the date and change the values, so we know the debits and credits would be in the same place. So that might help with some of that. However, what we do have within the VAT return is a nice simple feature which makes this much easier, especially for those that are maybe less confident with journals. And that is the option to post journal. Okay, you might think, why have I just spent ages showing you the manual process? Lots of people do want to do it manually. They want the control over that. So I completely appreciate that. But clicking post journal, as you can see, is going to take a lot of the work out for me, because not only has it got the values already in that are picked up automatically, the date has defaulted to the last day of that period. And at the click of a button, it's posted those 4 journals for me. It's also handily ticked this off to say it's done. Okay, so it looks nice and tidy. So when I come out of here, it very quickly changed to yes in the VAT transferred column. So it means I can almost use this like a checklist of where we're up to. Now, if we look at the transactions that have resulted from that, you can see here at the bottom, as a result of me clicking that box, I now have 4 journals. They are exactly what I would have posted manually, and in the reference, they have got the VAT return number. So it's all really easy to trace back to the VAT return that it relates to. And that is essentially the VAT transfer wizard. So if you haven't done it before, my recommendation would be to start using that VAT transfer option. Now, it is possible to use this and go back through previous returns. Okay, go back through previous returns and do that to mark them as transferred. So if I pick this one here, I can backdate these. Just bear in mind, if it's going to change things into previous financial years, you might want to run that by your accountant first of all. Now, I certainly wouldn't book an appointment with your accountant specifically to discuss that, but next time you speak to them, just let them know that you're going to do these journals. It might impact a few things. It just gives them a little bit of an awareness there if you're doing it into prior years. So that is the VAT transfer journal. Now, what we're going to do next is I'm going to very quickly jump ahead. I'm going to skip past submit. Obviously, the correct order would normally be to submit online first and then make your payment. But I'm just going to do this one first, because this is, again, slightly easier than this one, because this one goes into different formats depending on your location. So I'm just going to pop back to the slides there, bring those back. So the slides just go through both the automatic and manual posting there for you. So bank payment or a bank receipt. So once you make your payment to or from HMRC or ROS, you need to record that in your software also. So you need to show your bank balance changing to reflect that payment. Now, it can be done manually. So again, that's a simple bank payment or a bank receipt directly to the VAT liability nominal code, which is by default 2202. But what it won't do is mark the VAT return as paid automatically. So again, that would be a case of manually coming in and ticking the box to say it's been transferred. And again, there's no reason why you can't continue to do that if that's the way that you're used to doing it. Again, it just opens up potential sort of room for error with human error during posting. So again, you can get transposition errors, you might use the wrong nominal code. So we do have the feature in the VAT return to sort of simplify that process as well. But if you do want to do a manual posting, you use the bank payment or receipt feature within bank accounts. You would use the VAT liability nominal code, and it would be on a T9. Okay, so a T9 because you don't get charged VAT on top of a VAT payment. Then you can pop into the VAT return and mark that as paid. So let's go and have a look at that in the data. So here we are back in step 3. So the automatic process, what we need to do is select the date. Okay, so it's not always the case that you're going to be processing this on the last day of the financial year. It could be a couple of weeks into the new period that you're actually making that payment. So I'm just going to select today's date. You can pop in your reference and it's automatically populating the amount for me. What it's also clever at doing is recognizing if it's a receipt that's required. So if this was a receipt, what we'd have here is record receipt, and it would say post-bank receipt rather than post-bank payment. If you have done it manually, what you can do is just tick the box to say mark as paid, and it means in our list, our little checklist, it would be marked with the Y. Now, when I post this bank payment, it is literally posting the transaction within Sage. Okay, it will not post anything in your bank, as in your actual real life bank account, unless you've got them set up as for e-payments, or you're using salary payments, salary and supplier payments via Modular, and you've got them set up that way. Okay, so it doesn't automatically send the payment for you unless you've actually got those set up already. So I'm going to click post bank payment. And again, what you should notice there in transactions is we now have the VAT payment posted. So again, nice and easy at the click of a button there. So no difference there between UK or Ireland, other than you're dealing with HMRC in the UK and ROS in Ireland. Back to the slides then, because we're going to look at VAT submission, and this is where it does become slightly different, okay, because in the UK now we are under making tax digital rules. So if you are submitting already and you've been submitting for some time, then you will be already submitting under making tax digital rules. But if you're new to Sage and you haven't been using Sage in the past, then you just need to make sure everything's switched on for making tax digital rules. So first of all, you need to register with HMRC and register for a VAT account. Once you've done that, you need to use that information when you do your first submission to connect your Sage software to your HMRC account. You also need to switch making tax digital on in your software. Okay, so you need to go into settings and company preferences, tick the box to enable making tax digital for VAT submissions, and also make sure your VAT registration number has been entered. So I'm just going to show you that now in the software. So to check this, so if you've already been submitting, this is probably already set up. If you want to check, you can do so through settings, company preferences, pop your password in, and we're on the VAT tab here. So I've got my VAT registration number in, and this box is ticked. This is the one that we need to be ticked. And that tells me when I submit, it's going to submit via Making Tax Digital portal. If you try to submit without this, you will be given an error, and it will indicate that you need to submit under Making Tax Digital. Okay, so the submission in the UK, if I pop into the VAT return, just taking a moment to think about that, is via the VAT return. So when you click submit online, it takes you through some steps that will then connect you to the government gateway, and I can only take you so far. There we go. It takes me to this point where it connects onto the HMRC gateway. Now, because of this, we've got a video to demonstrate the submission. So I'm going to play that for you next, and it's about 2 minutes long. So please hang on in there if you're one of our Irish customers, because we will come back to your submission in just a moment. But this will connect to the HMRC government gateway for you and do your submission. Now, if you are already submitting under Making Tax Digital rules, when you're watching this, if you see any differences, please don't panic, okay? It can be slightly different for your first time submissions. So I'm just going to play that video now. Like I say, it's only about 2 minutes long, and then we'll come back to show you the Irish version of this.
In this demonstration, we're going to show you the steps to submit your VAT return online. We join the demonstration where we're on step 3 of the VAT return, so it's already been reconciled, and we're ready to submit it online. So on the right hand side, we click Submit Online. The online submission wizard appears, and you click Next. Ensure that the correct company name and VAT registration number appears, and then click Next. An authority page appears, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you can then click Continue. You're then prompted to sign in with your Government Gateway user ID and password. Once entered, click Sign In. You then click Grant Authority. You'll then be prompted to choose your period, and it should default to the correct one. Just make sure this is correct, and then select the checkbox to say that you agree to the following HMRC declaration, and then click Submit to HMRC. Once completed, a congratulations message appears, indicating you successfully submitted your VAT return to HMRC. You click Close. You then return to the VAT return, and as you can see, the VAT return is now flagged as being submitted.
Okay, so that was just the submission within the UK, and that's what to expect if you're doing your first return in the UK. Just going to pop back onto the slides there. Just want to show you before we do so, I'm just going to go back into the VAT return. What you'll find once you've submitted via Making Tax Digital is it should update here with a correlation ID. Now, don't panic if that hasn't got the correlation ID there. Okay, we have discovered a known issue that some customers are saying that the correlation ID has not updated, but as long as you've got documentation to prove the submission, that's fine. But ultimately, your correlation ID should show in here. It's almost like a receipt number to confirm that you've submitted that. Now, in Ireland, it is slightly different. You're not yet on Making Tax Digital, so I'm just going to pop back to the slides there. So what you will notice on your submission is rather than submit online, you have an option to open folder. Now, within that folder, it will have an XML file. Okay, that XML file is ready for you to upload directly onto the Revenue Online Service, or ROS. If you have done that submission, then you can tick the box to say mark as submitted. And again, that just handily shows your list as complete. So you can look at your checklist and make sure that you have submitted that. So it is a file that you download, and then you would upload that onto Revenue Online Service. So it's slightly different in Republic of Ireland at the moment, and as yet no further information as to any change on that. Okay, so that brings us towards the end. I'm going to do a quick summary. However, if you've got any questions, now is your opportunity to get those questions across to us. Like I say, we've got Michael and Matt in the background ready for any questions that you may have. So please do get those across to us while we're live on the session there. Okay, so first of all, the first thing I would definitely suggest is before you go into the VAT return, regardless of whether you're doing your submission or not, is just to take a backup. Make sure that you've got a point of return should you click on something you maybe don't want to. The VAT transfer is a process of moving the sales and purchase tax control account values for that period onto the VAT liability. I do emphasize for that period, indicating it shouldn't really take them back to zero. Okay, so quite often we'll get the question, why aren't they returning to zero? They won't unless you've stopped processing entirely. Now, without these, what you'll find is those nominal codes will just start to accumulate large balances. Okay, so they may just look a little bit odd when you start to look at them in the trial balance. The VAT transfer wizard is designed to do the hard work for you. So at the click of a button, it will do the postings for you. It takes care of the debits, the credits, the dates, the nominal codes, etc. The record payment or receipt option will recognise whether it's a payment or a refund. And again, it takes some of the posting sort of stress away. So it uses the correct nominal codes, that values are pre-populated for you. In the UK, Making Tax Digital submissions are sent directly from your software to HMRC. Just make sure that that is switched on. And in the Republic of Ireland, it is slightly different. It's that XML file that you need to download to upload to Revenue. Okay, so I'm just going to tackle a question that's come through. A really common question we get is, will this be available in a video? Okay, so this session will be recorded, or we'll have a previous session available for you on our website, which I'm just going to show you in just a second. So first of all, I do just want to show you our help center. Okay, our help center, you can find help on everything in the software. Okay, so it's sage.co.uk/help, or any of the question mark icons within the software. In here, you can see we've got different areas of the software, in particular, Manage VAT. When you click on that, it takes you into your location, so it can give you guidance based on where you are and the legislation applicable to you. And if you go further into here, you can see there's more information. There's also free training, and some of the slides do also have a link to a video as well. So there's lots of help and support on there. So if you're looking for further tutorials, this is the place to make a start. You've got videos, free training, etc. So quite often it links into Sage University. You can log on and you can do more hands-on tasks on some of these. What you can also do is you can type in webinars. Now you can also go to sage.co.uk/webinars. That will take you to our webinars page. And in here we've got webinar recordings. Okay, so for the person asking about the recording or the video, then there is also videos available on the webinar recordings page. So please do check those out. Then you can watch them in your own time. You can pause them as you're sort of maybe working through the steps yourself there. But further down, webinars for Sage 50 accounts just shows you our upcoming webinars. Okay, so what we've got coming through the next few months. Okay, so you can see what we've got coming up. We're currently looking at a sort of clear out your data series. Okay, so a bit of a spring clean, new year, new data essentially. So this afternoon, I'm going to be looking at clearing out old customer, supplier and nominal codes in your software. So if you find yourself in a position where you've got loads of old data in there, join us this afternoon. We'll show you how you can take a look at getting rid of some of those older records. We've also got things like clearing out invoices and orders tomorrow morning and company archives tomorrow afternoon. Now beyond that, as we move into February, because our clearing records goes right through January, we have got our next badge. So further down on this page, you can see our badge there for banking excellence. So if you attend 6 of our 8 sessions plus the quiz, you can earn our next digital badge. All done on Accredible, so you can start to build up your badges online. So they are available to book now. We're running them throughout February. We're running them on multiple dates and across a sort of spread out period so that you've got the opportunity to attend as many as you can there. Okay, so let's have a quick look further up here. Okay, I'm going to just see if I can tackle any of the questions that are coming through. So it may just take a moment to make sure I check on these. Bear with me one moment. Okay, just gonna have a quick look into these for you. So what we'll do, if you can keep your questions coming, we'll see if we can get these answered for you. Just gonna pop on mute while we'll pick a couple of these up for you. I'll see if there's any that I can try and demonstrate for you in the meantime as well. If you are leaving us, thank you very much for joining. We'll hopefully see you on another session real soon, but we will be back before we end the session. Okay, thank you very much for holding there. Right, okay, so one of the questions is, if I post the bank payment from the VAT form, I still need to post it from my actual bank statement, is that correct? So yes, if you use the option within the software, let me just pop back into the software there. If you use this option here, all that will do is it will post the transaction in Sage. Okay, now that is unless you've got e-banking set up. Okay, so if you've got e-banking set up and you've set up HMRC as a supplier, you've added their details and you export a file to import into your banking software, then that may potentially make the payment for you. Also, if you're using modular, okay, that may also potentially make the payment for you. Now, I'm saying may potentially because not everyone will have them set up. Okay, so if you don't use either of those features, then yes, you would still need to log on to your bank and make that payment to HMRC. So it has been a call we've had through to technical support a few times about I've clicked post payment and it hasn't actually sent the payment to HMRC, and that's because they haven't had that set up. So I do like to try and make that really clear. Really would hate for you to get any fines based on you pressing that button and assuming that money's going to be transferred across. Really good question there is, will you do a session on partial exemption? Now, we haven't done one on partial exemption before, and that has been down to demand, okay? So I will be honest, we haven't had the demand for it. So what I would say is on the article for the upcoming webinars, we do have a suggested topic. Now, if you want to just pop your post into there, we do regularly monitor that. And if we do get enough interest in that, we will look at doing something on that. Not everybody uses our standard recommended way of doing partial exemption as well. So it does make it a bit tricky because we have our recommended way, but there's lots of ways of doing a partial exemption calculation. So it does make it a little bit tricky, but please do put your requests through. I'd never say never, but I just wanted to give a sort of reason why we haven't got one on there just yet. Okay, just having a look. Oh, so a great sort of suggestion there. All independent schools will now need the training for partial exemption. So that's great. Please do put your submission through. Like I say, I would never say never. And if there's more people on this session, they also could do from that, pop your request through. We'll see what we can do there. In the meantime, though, there is an article that does detail how we suggest to do partial exemption. So I'd maybe suggest in the meantime to have a look at that one. Is there a way I can check VAT code entries without running the VAT return so I can check where we are posting correctly mid-quarter? I think the best way probably is to run the VAT return, to be honest. I would say take a backup, run the VAT return, but then what you've got is the drill down feature, and it just allows you to see what transactions are being posted and what nominal codes are being used. Other than that, you would be looking at just running reports, which are probably not that easy to sort of work your way through. So my suggestion would probably be to do the VAT return and use the drill down feature to help you sort of make sure things are being posted correctly, because hopefully that would highlight very quickly if everything's being posted correctly there. Okay. I think Michael's just picking up a last question there. I think Matt's got one too. There's a quick one there about getting in touch. So if you do want to get in touch with our support teams, you can find help on our support on the help centre. Sorry, I'm just trying to find that for you. So if you need to speak to the support teams in the help centre, there is the options to get in touch. If you are looking to get in touch for training, so you are looking to get in touch with someone around those one-to-ones, then please do download the handout, and there is a link in the handout today with the email address for training as well. So I know there's a few different places you may want to contact. So I think you said just remind you where to find the email link. So if I just pop into the slides again, the very beginning of the slides, you're looking at this slide here, there's an email address for you. So what I will actually do, just see if I can copy that link for you and just pop that across as well, just in case that is what you're looking for. So just going to quickly share the screen there. Should be able to see that in the slides there. Again, while you're on the screen, you might want to take a quick note of that one too. Okay, I think we're pretty much on top of the questions. I'm just going to get that link, so I'll just be one moment while I get that copied across. See if I can pop that into the chat for you as well. There we go. And I'll just pop that into the chat. So if anyone is looking for any bespoke training, and that might be one as well, if you're using partial exemption, it might be that the one-to-one may be more suitable for you so that we can cater that specifically for your needs as well. Okay, I think we're going to look to end the session there because I think all questions are now answered. So I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you very much for joining us today. And again, we're back at 2 p.m. looking at clearing out data. So it'd be great to see you there. In the meantime, for now, take care everyone, and we'll see you on another session really soon. But bye for now.